Bulls win the first quarter by 2 points, and it's our pleasure to welcome the NBA Commissioner Adam Silver to Houston. We've got the Super Bowl on Sunday. We've got the Yao Ming jersey retirement, so we've got both commissioners of the leagues in town tonight.
Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Matt. It's great to be here with you guys.
Yeah. How about Yao Ming and having that jersey retirement? I know you were in the NBA and dealt a lot with Yao during that period of time.
You know, I'll just say, so I was at his Hall of Fame induction.
Right.
The beginning of this season, and now to see his jersey retired, it's quite amazing. You know, I've seen the full course of his career, and as much as he did as a Rocket, obviously his career was cut short somewhat by injuries. I mean, he's changed global basketball, there's no doubt about it. And he continues to be probably the most famous person in China, if anybody has any doubt. That's the standing he has in that country.
Yeah, I first went over there with him. I was on the bus when people would recognize him. It was like traveling. I said at the time with the Beatles or somebody like that, it was just amazing to travel with him. But we talk so much about opening up the gap between the two countries. He was instrumental. He was probably as big a figure to do that as anybody.
No, there's no question, and I think people forget already, but before Yao came into the league, there was this notion that the Chinese male was small and weak. That was the stereotype in Western culture.
Right.
And I think the Chinese government was very aware of that, so when Yao Ming came into the NBA, I think they, even beyond what they realized he was as an athlete, they realized as a cultural icon, he became very important. So you knew from traveling over in China, you'd see billboards of him everywhere. That was the image they wanted to portray of the Chinese male, and frankly it was effective because we don't think the same way about Chinese men as we did back in 2004 when he joined the league.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing when you think about having to come to the NBA and adapt to the level of play, but also the level of cultural expectations that Yao brought with him. I mean, it's amazing that he was able to succeed as well as he did.
Well, right, and the cultural expectation, in addition to representing the country, there was also an expectation that he was going to lead the national team as well. And, you know, who knows how long his career might have been, but for example, the pressure we all knew he had on him in the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, even though he had been injured that season, I don't think there was ever a doubt in his mind, and I think he knows if he were going to do it again, he'd have no choice, because a country of 1.3 billion's expectations were on that player and what that player was going to achieve for glory for that country.
Yeah, no other NBA player has that kind of weight on their shoulders when they're out here playing, and Yao handled it tremendously.
No, and if you know him too, he's an extraordinarily modest guy. I mean, even earlier tonight, we were together before the game, and of course, you guys are going to be honoring him at halftime. And I said, how do you feel? He said, I'm nervous. I said, really? He said, yeah. But I mean, you could do sweaty and nervous. He's like, I have to speak. And I mean, that's how he feels, and that's who he is. He's incredibly genuine and incredibly appreciative.
I know from day one I was with him, and Colin Pine used to sit with me on the away games.
His interpreter.
And I learned a lot of culture sitting with Colin and going out to dinner with Yao, so it was very good for my education as well as his education. But his parents, we talked about it earlier, they raised such a fine young man. I mean, that's the thing that resonates with me more than anything else.
And as I'm sure you know, when I remember when Yao was retiring, I said, what are you going to do next? They said, I'm going to go to college. And I said, like, actually go to college? And he said, yes. And of course, he has the wherewithal to have tutors or do anything he wants online. He said, I want the experience of being in a classroom and going to college. And in fact, he went back to Shanghai and he enrolled in college.
Yeah, and so just think about the platform that he has and the education that he has. I think he's going to do greater things going forward than he's done to this point.
You know, Matt, it's really interesting you say that, because I've always thought that you know, for a lot of players, by the time their career ends, the greatest honor, the Hall of Fame, having their jersey retired, frankly, they're coasting a little bit, you know, golf or whatever else for the rest of their life.
Right.
But their greatest days are behind them. You said it exactly right. I think in the case of Yao Ming, his greatest days are ahead of him, because there are rumors that he's going to be taking on a position with the Chinese Basketball Association. In fact, the rumors are that he will lead it. He has a status there in the government, unlike anybody else. So, and he and I were even talking earlier tonight. I mean, given that there's a little bit of tension right now between the United States and China, sports is often a way of bridging those gaps.
Well, we thank you so much for being with us here tonight. We have a timeout. We've got to go to commercial break. always come back and
Thank you,
see
Bill.
us.
And thank you, Matt. Pleasure to be here with you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more Rockets basketball in a moment.